Have you ever tried reading a scientific paper and thought, wow, this feels like it's written in a completely different language? You know, we usually just brush scientific texts off as dry or, honestly, just way too complicated. But here's the thing. Underneath all those rigid, seemingly robotic sentences lies a massive, perfectly engineered secret language. Every single piece of it serves a highly specific purpose. And today, we're going to decode that language.
Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're literally putting language itself under the microscope, kind of treating it like a biological specimen. We're zooming in on the linguistic features of scientific discourse. We'll look at exactly how scientists use words, grammar, and syntax as this incredible mechanical system to share their breakthroughs with the world.
So, here's our roadmap for today. Just like a good scientific paper, we're building this on strict logic. We'll define what scientific discourse actually is, check out its different substyles, dig into the vocabulary and grammar rules, and finally, wrap up with the underlying logic behind the whole thing.
All right, Section 1. What exactly is scientific discourse?
Let's dive right into this. Scientific style is essentially a highly functional language. It's driven by strict logic, absolute exactness, and total objectivity. But you know what's truly fascinating? It's defined just as much by what's missing as by what's actually there. Emotion, personal bias, the writer's mood, even the word I, they're completely stripped away. And that's not a flaw, it's actually the language's superpower, because in science, the fact itself is vastly more important than the person who discovered it.
Take a look at this textbook excerpt. It perfectly captures how researchers see scientific style as a precision tool for representing concepts. And notice the critical missing piece here: artistic imagery. If you're reading a novel, the author uses colorful metaphors to spark your imagination, right? Well, science absolutely cannot tolerate that. The thoughts have to reflect rigid, totally unambiguous concepts. No room for interpretation.
Moving on to Section 2, the different types of scientific substyles.
We tend to think of science as having this one uniform robotic voice. But actually, it totally changes its tone depending on who's listening. It splits into three major branches. First up, you've got the purely scientific or technical style. That's built strictly for experts doing direct research. Second is the educational style, which is what you'll find in the textbooks we use to teach the basics. And third is the popular science style, the kind you read in magazines or articles meant for the general public. So who the audience is directly dictates how complex the language gets. Just look at the contrast here. The purely scientific text is packed with strict logic and heavy-duty terminology. It's really just for the experts, like a blueprint only an engineer can read. But the popular science style, that's a vital bridge between the laboratory and your living room. It drops a lot of the heavy jargon, bumps up the accessibility, and mixes scientific precision with an engaging tone so that complex discoveries actually make sense to the rest of us.
Okay, Section 3. Let's talk about the lexicon, the terms, and the absolute need for precision.
Now let's look at the actual organs of our anatomy lesson here, the vocabulary. Science demands something called monosemy. Basically, one word must equal exactly one meaning, no exceptions. Imagine you're reading a manual for performing heart surgery or, I don't know, building a rocket, and the words could be interpreted in three different ways. That would be a complete catastrophe. And that's exactly why science completely locks artistic imagery out of its borders.
If you compare everyday conversation to a scientific text, the difference is night and day. In our normal, everyday dialogue, words carry heavy emotional weight. We're constantly injecting our personal feelings and subjectivity into what we say. The scientific lexicon is the absolute opposite of that. It's this highly engineered system focused on total exactness, a neutral tone, and domain-specific terms. So when it sounds dry, it's not trying to bore you, it's literally just precision at work.
Which brings us to Section 4. The grammar and syntax rules of the trade. Now, what's really interesting here is how we get down to the skeleton of the language. Check out this breakdown. Why use the passive voice? Why write in the third person? Why say it was discovered instead of we discovered it? Well, it deliberately scrubs away the author's bias. It pulls the researcher off the stage entirely so the spotlight shines purely on the objective facts. Also, notice how nouns dominate verbs? That's because science is all about representing stable, established concepts.
Look at this specific rule from the textbook on syntactic exactness. It explicitly bans ellipsis. Now, ellipsis is just a fancy word for leaving words out. In daily life, we drop words from our sentences constantly because the context fills in the blanks for us. But in scientific writing, absolutely nothing is left to assumption.
Every single element has to be fully stated to guarantee 100% clarity.
And when we zoom out to the sentence structures, declarative statements are the absolute backbone of the text. They're informative, they're flat, and they just state the facts. You'll almost never see exclamatory or interrogative sentences. In the super rare cases where a question is used, it's really just a rhetorical device to guide your attention to the next point, keeping that totally logical, step-by-step sequence going.
Here's another fascinating little detail. Sentences in scientific texts often start with determinative modifiers that outline the condition, the time, or the cause, rather than just jumping straight to the subject. Information isn't just thrown at you randomly. This kind of structural optimization ensures that the logical thread never breaks and everything flows perfectly seamlessly from one idea to the next.
Finally, Section 5. Let's uncover the underlying logic behind the text.
So, the crucial point we need to take away from all of this is the why. Why this dry, passive, tightly controlled system? Well, it has one ultimate goal: a guarantee. This incredibly rigid linguistic system guarantees that a scientific truth discovered today is going to be understood flawlessly, without any misinterpretation, 100 years from now, anywhere in the whole world. It's literally a linguistic vault designed to protect human knowledge across time and space.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. Do you think science could have advanced to the incredible heights it's at today without this level of linguistic rigor? Without this exactness, would we even be able to pass discoveries down through generations intact? Scientific language isn't just ink on a page, it's the very vehicle driving human progress. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and hey, never stop questioning the world around you.